Hey guys, this is Kevin. Just wanted to show how to draw this bee using a way that emphasizes speed and construction. So let's begin. First I would try to capture the overall shape of this bee very quick. And second, I would break it down into the biggest structure. Structure is something that exists in 3D space. It is not a flat shape, but rather something that has a cross section and can be placed in perspective. Something doesn't really become a three-dimensional volume until you place a cross section of it, like I do here. And I'm just placing the wings in now. I'm really judging it based on its shape, the proportion, but as I draw one wing, when I place the other wing, I think about how it wraps around and how it sits on the other side in terms of perspective. And I really think about how this further wing matches with the closer wing in terms of perspective. And I would place the shape for the bee's eyes and just lines for the what you call these tentacles, antennas, no idea, and lines for the feet too. The reason I'm placing lines instead of drawing the entire thing is at this stage, you're really looking at the big proportions and the big shapes. Say if this thing is one leg is only correct if it's correct in relationship to any correct relationship to the other legs. So really, when you draw the legs, it's best to draw them all at the same time as soon as possible, and then compare the relative location and proportion of all the legs. And if you draw the entire legs and at the start, then once one is wrong, you have to go back to correct it. But if you draw it as a single line, it's much easier to correct these single lines and then to correct a fully drawn leg. And in this photo, you don't really see the other side, but I tend to try to think about what the other side legs would be or might be, and where they connect in terms of body. This habit is really useful because it gives you a sense of three-dimensionality, and when you draw from memory, it's best that you obtain the knowledge of how the thing in reality is constructed. That way, when you draw from memory, you can basically draw this thing you've memorized the construction of in a different angle, even if you haven't really seen it from the other angle. So I'm just drawing more cross sections to define the volume. Now, after I figure the proportion is about correct, I come in and detail the thing. Notice that I'm not really drawing flat shapes. I'm placing in the cross sections, so I know I'm constructing three-dimensional volume. This is important. If you are constructing three-dimensional volumes when you draw from observation, it enables you to really construct it in a different angle when you draw from memory, or another way of putting it, draw from imagination. And I'm just constructing more of this legs here. Think after it's all done. The funny thing is, I think if you look closely enough, this thing is not exact in terms of proportion to the photo, but the thing is, if it doesn't look like the photo, people who hasn't seen the photo can't really tell. But if it's off in terms of perspective, then people can tell even if they haven't seen a photo. So I'm really more focusing on the perspective and rough proportions and trying to record what I can use when I draw from imagination, then really to copy the photo literally. I think that's why I don't usually judge people's works easily, because with each different intention, the work and result will look different. In this case, my intention is really to record something which I can use in terms of drawing from memory in the future. So I'm recording down its overall construction, overall volume, and after this is all done, we can go into the details. I spend a lot of time in the initial stages. I don't really go into details so fast. I make sure everything is in correct relationship to each other. I think only when you've gotten most things fairly correct at that stage, then everything else you put on top will be correct. It's like building with a bad foundation will fall down no matter how good the other extra structure are constructed on top. And usually with a photo, with a picture like this, it's a practice to choose your focal point and emphasize the focal point. It's also a matter of conserving your time. You don't want to spend all your time literally copy the photo in terms of every single detail. You want to be selective and choose what's interesting to draw, what's interesting to you, and present that to the viewer. Saves you time, makes a drawing process more interesting, and also makes the picture more interesting to look at as well. Because since it becomes something more than a literal copy of the photo, it contains your opinion of what you find most interesting about this picture. So when I'm doing shading, I'm careful. So any extra shading I do on top of this, it doesn't interfere with the sense of volume I've already established. So if you notice it, when I'm shading, I'm really shading across the form, following the contour of the form. So it's enhancing the sense of volume and not really competing with the kind of volume I've already established. And right now I think this section is still looking a bit too rough. I want to trying to strengthen the outer edge so it's more obvious what this form is doing, and I'm drawing more cross sections of a bee to show its texture, but also the texture at the same time, it does a fairly decent job of conveying the overall form. And this leg is in front of the body, so I would add contrast to these lines. And at this point I feel I've done enough, and probably you could add some indication of the cast shadow, just so people sort of know what kind of space and the relationship the bee has to the ground plane it's standing on. This is basically it. Of course you want to strengthen the contrast of the outer edge of the wing, so it's more obvious that the wing is on top of the body and in front of the body. Do the same thing with the eye. This is pretty much it. Thank you, and see you guys next time.